As transfer fees have reached obscene levels over the last decade, we've seen more high-profile busts than ever before. Arsenal swung and missed on Nicolas Pepe, Chelsea have struggled with Kepa Arrizabalaga, Lukaku, Hazard and Maguire have all failed to work out as planned, and even apparent slam-dunk marquee acquisitions like Jadon Sancho and Jack Grealish are yet to justify their fees. So Atletico Madrid's Joao Felix isn't the only one to disappoint his buyers. However, at €126 million, the Portuguese has been a major failure for Diego Simeone, replacing Barca-bound Antoine Griezmann in 2019, but since losing his place to the returning Frenchman, and is now joining Chelsea on loan in January, just halfway through his initial 7-year contract. And while he signed a 1-year contract extension in Madrid before the switch, rumours still suggest that a permanent deal could be doable for somewhere in the £80 million range. Hardly the noises you'd expect out of a club committed to developing their record signing. So why hasn't such a talented player worked out for the capital club? How has Felix developed in his Spanish spell, and whose fault is this catastrophe? Today on EFD Explained, we're trying to find out. Arriving in Madrid for the 4th largest fee in history, Felix faced huge expectations from the start. But while he had just 1 season and 43 senior games under his belt, there was plenty to suggest superstardom was close at hand. In just 21 league starts in 2018-19, Felix scored 15 and assisted a further 7 for Benfica as they won the title, earning himself the Golden Boy award over Erling Haaland, Foden and Vinicius Jr. And when Atletico lost Antoine Griezmann to Barcelona, it at least seemed that Felix was a like-for-like replacement, a hard-working dual threat who could connect midfield and attack and lead the club into a new generation. And to be fair to Felix, his time with Atletico has seen some success. Griezmann had produced 183 goals and assists in 257 games during that first stint under Simeone, but the attack remained functionally identical without him, matching the 1.6 goals per game they scored during the Frenchman's 2013 to 2019 run. Not bad given they'd replaced a Ballon d'Or contender and World Cup winner with a teenager. They even won La Liga in 2021, something they never managed with Griezmann. But while the club itself can consider the last 3 years broadly positive, Felix has been increasingly sidelined by his coach. The youngster, now 23, has made fewer starts and played fewer minutes in each successive campaign under Simeone, and the Argentinian's decision to bring back Griezmann felt like a clear statement on the trust between player and manager. Felix has never joined the Coque club of guys Simeone can rely on. But how much justification is there for his peripheral status? Over the 3.5 seasons since he left his homeland, Felix has put up 0.5, 0.5, 0.7 and now 0.6 expected goals and assists per 90, besting other young attackers like Saka and Foden in that period. And though he has seen less game time with each passing year, it hasn't hurt his ability to get on the score sheet, with 7 goal contributions in his first campaign, turning into 12 in his second, 12 in his third, and now 7 so far in 22-23. In just 600 minutes on the field. This looks like an exciting prospect becoming a star, if not a starter. You could understand a bench role if the rest of the Atleti squad was tearing it up, but even weighed against the guys Simeone prefers, Felix comes up smiling. In 2 of the last 3 seasons, Atleti's top scorer has failed to get over 16 in all comps, and when you break output down per 90 minutes, Felix climbs to the top of the pack, scoring and assisting at a faster rate than every other Atletico player over the last 18 months, averaging 1 goal contribution per 90 in 37 appearances in that time, perhaps explaining why he was named Atleti Player of the Year in 2021-22. That's a fact you'd be forgiven for not knowing, given the narrative around him. So if he's doing the business in front of goal, there has to be something else distancing him from true acceptance at the Wanda Metropolitano, and possibly work rate might be a part of it. During his first spell at the club, Griezmann was often a one-man attack for Atletico and could therefore have done less in defence against small sides. But at the point of his departure, he was putting up about 1.5 tackles and interceptions a game, and since coming back, he's closer to 3, more than we see from players like Miguel Almiron and Joe Willock in Eddie Howe's hard-working Newcastle. Felix, on the other hand, has never broken 1 defensive action per 90, and while he is a willing presser, he may simply lack the bite Simeone prefers in a forward. He's also not as physical on the ball as his older teammate. At his peak in 2018-19, when his legend status in Madrid meant he'd have been forgiven a little wastefulness, Griezmann was exceptionally secure in possession, losing it just 3 times a game, placing in the top quarter of attackers. Felix, meanwhile, coughs up the ball more like 4 times a match, and in a side like Atleti, which tends to only just edge over 50% possession, getting robbed that often makes you a liability. It may be that these qualities, and possibly some locker room or personality issues, have been enough to put Simeone off his record signing, but the manager also bears huge responsibility for his young charge's lack of impact, shackling Felix to a task which doesn't fit his natural game. In his breakout season at Benfica, Felix was rarely faced up by a defender, attempting just 1.6 dribbles per 90 but receiving 8 progressive passes. In basic terms, Benfica asked him to make off-the-ball runs and looked for him in space, resulting in over 6 touches in the box per game in the top 8% of forwards and an average shot distance of 14.6 yards from goal, comfortably above average. 1 year later, and he was getting just 3.6 touches in the box, and his shots were coming from nearly 19 yards out in the bottom 11% of players in his role. And that wasn't a fluke. In the years since, touches in the area and shot distance have stayed the same, and now, if he wants to do anything, he has to create the chance out of nothing, with his progressive passes received down from 8 to 4.5 and his dribbles attempted up from 1.6 to 4 a match. In short, even when he plays in the middle, Felix has been turned from a true second striker, getting service high up the pitch, to a pseudo-winger, asked to beat his man one-on-one and provide for others. The fact he succeeded at all is a testament to his talent. So does Chelsea's January swoop for the forward make sense, or is this another problem player to add to a host of malfunctioning pieces in Potter's 11? Looking at the match footage and the stats, in our view the picture is clear. It adds up to a player with tons of talent, creative, skillful and good in front of goal, who was stuck in a system requiring him to defend like a midfielder, run like a winger, create like a 10 and score like a striker. Peak Griezmann could do that, and pre-peak Felix can't quite, and there's no shame in that. However, the experience has allowed him to hone new skills, showing that he can dribble effectively at the highest level, and that even with inconsistent game time, he can put up respectable numbers. So give him a regular starting spot in Potter's possession-orientated attack, with talent around him, and Felix could soar, as we saw very briefly at the World Cup, when a Portugal team full of pacey runners and pinpoint passers allowed the 23-year-old to play a freer role, dropping into the midfield before using his array of talents to break games open. And if he impresses and Chelsea make the deal permanent, Felix is a great age, young enough to have the best part of a decade left in his legs, but old enough that he won't have the rawness or lack of tactical nous common in players under 21. And for those thinking he should be more developed than he currently looks, it's worth noting that he's younger than Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Darwin Núñez, all of whom have their own consistency issues. After an unhappy 3-year marriage, it's clear that prolonging his stay in Madrid is not going to make the player, his coach, the club or the fans happy. It's time for Joao Felix to try a different city and a different shirt, and perhaps, in London, rediscover the spark which made him outshine his rivals in the first place. So that's our take on Joao Felix's time at Atletico Madrid, but what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and you'll never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.